So the message I want to share with you tonight is simply called Working Nets. I don't have a ton of scripture tonight. I have 3 scriptures I'm going to share with you. My sermon tonight is going to be a little bit more story heavy, kind of just emphasizing the point around this whole sermon. When it comes to meeting people, I have a really good role model in my life who's amazing at meeting people, and that's my dad. He's actually here tonight. Hi, Dad. This guy, he can befriend anyone, talk to anyone, anything. He's probably talked to you before. You may not even know it. But my dad does this, he's into networking groups. Notice, the title, kind of play on words, working nets, networking. Anyway, clever, I know. He does networking groups. And he does these all over DFW Metroplex, all different days of the week. He knows people in every different industry, and they all do buddy deals together and work together. And as a kid, when I would tell my friends in school what my dad did, they were convinced that he was in the mafia. Because they're like, you got a friend, I got a friend who does this, I got a friend who does that. Every time my mom would ask for something to be done at the house, she'd be like, Mark, we need to get the windows cleaned. He'd go, I know a guy. So we're like, oh, cool, But I kind of see how little kids would think, yeah, my dad's in the mob. But no, he has a great circle of friends, circle of business guys that all do different things. So the story here is Working Nets, and it's out of Matthew chapter 13, verse 47 and 48. So we'll read this. Once again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up on the shore. Then they sat down and collected the good fish in baskets, but they threw the bad away. Well, not to be outdone by Pastor Kelly, a couple weeks ago, he preached. He had an awesome thing with the felt board. Pastor Kyle does a lot of our meetings with sock puppets. So sock puppets. It's pretty fun. So I rented off Amazon, if you know what I mean. Don't act like you don't rent things off Amazon. I'm going to save the packaging right here. Don't act like you don't do it. Kidding. I'm going to decorate my office with it. This is a net. It's a very cheaply. This is a net. So first century church, a lot of people were fishermen. You go to ancient Israel, they had Sea of Galilee, and these guys were fishing, right? They had their boats, and they would throw these nets over, and they'd catch up all the fish. So Jesus was speaking in parable form. He was talking about something relatable to them, but he says the kingdom of heaven is like a net. So look at your world today. Think about all the networks we have, whether it's in real life, church, networking group, your business, your office. Maybe it's online, maybe it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Maybe you're like Kyle and you're still on MySpace. Whatever your Zanga profile, your Zanga blog, whatever. We all have plenty of different networks that we're a part of. But what is the kingdom? What does it mean for kingdom networking? The kingdom is simply God's net that is cast out into the world, and it's pulling everything up. The good and the bad, the sincere and the insincere, the believers and the non-believers. The net of God's kingdom pulls a lot of people in, and sometimes they become part of the net themselves. God will sort out who belongs and who doesn't. But God is constantly working the net. He's making it larger in some places. He's mending it maybe in places that it needs repair, and he's catching more fish. So the church has grown from just a dozen believers in Jesus to now billions today, all because of this net concept. So my thought was, are we the fishers or are we the fish? I would say that we're both. We start out as the fish, and then Jesus says in Matthew chapter 4, verse 18, says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and they followed him. So how do we network like Jesus? How do we work these nets? I have just 3 basic points, 3 basic thoughts with a handful of some embarrassing stories along the way for you. Just of how do we do this? How do we be like Jesus? So I want to start micro, work our way macro here. So start small, work our way big. So how do we do this in our family? Number one is in your family. I talked to my parents earlier, but I love my parents. I have great parents. I love our family, and they've set such a good example for me growing up. And one of the biggest things I think with that was just church attendance. We were going to church. And then as we got older, sometimes the roles may have reversed. I would say, I need to go to church. Take me to church. But we went to church. And it's probably my dad's fault that I'm actually in full-time ministry. I was kind of thinking about this. But back in 2001, I was probably like 6 years old. And my parents put me in this Christian basketball program called Upward Basketball. And I think it became very clear, very evident that this kid's not going to be into sports. So I think Dad was scrambling, and he went up to the kids pastor around that same time and said, "Can this kid help on a computer or something? Like, because basketball ain't going to cut it." And so I think that's kind of the origin story. Not too much, well, I guess later, end of high school, my junior and senior year of high school, I ended up going to Prince of Peace Christian School right over there. And great school, loved it, made some of my best friends there in just 2 years. And I'm sitting in the cafeteria eating lunch one day, and this coach comes up to me and goes, "Hey, do you know how to swim?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Great, you're on varsity swim team." So I did end my grade school career on a varsity sport, I'm proud to say. If you want to know what my award was, actually, I'll tell you this too. I didn't even tell my family that I was joining the swim team. I just started disappearing from the house at 5 a.m. on Saturday mornings. They're like, "Where's Bryce?" Because I was embarrassed. I'm like, I'm not going to do good at this. You know, I'm in 11th grade, and I can't swim competition. So I never told them until they kind of figured it out, like, "Where are you going?" Well, so my award at the varsity swim, I'm not making this up, my swim award was most improved. So better than nothing, though. So anyway, I'm talking about in your family, parents with your kids, just keeping them within the net of discipleship, discipling your children. Like I said, I'm not a parent. I'm looking at the example that mine have set, but being in these programs that we have here, there's amazing stuff for your kids. We got JBQ and Impact Girls Club and Royal Rangers and the youth group and all these different ways for you to disciple your child. So put them in that. Be faithful to it. Set that example. My parents, they were my example growing up. And there's things they did that they don't even think about it. But I just know the little faithful things. I remember being a kid and I'd see on the kitchen table the check that was written to the church on Saturday night for the tithe for the next day. I noticed those things. I noticed their faithfulness. And that stuff I never bring up to them, but I saw it as a kid. So you're setting an example for your children, whether or not you even think about it, it's happening. And same with your extended family. We have holidays coming up. You got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas. That's a chance for you to love on family members and to extend the net of the kingdom of God to your family. There may be people in your own family that don't have a relationship with Him. And it's as simple as just talking about it, getting out there. So number 2 is the church, in the church. So part of pursuing Christ is this community that we have here. We have here called Freedom Church, right? You know, the bigger a church gets, the smaller it has to grow so people don't fall out the back door. There's so many great things here that you can be a part of. Mentioned all those classes for the kids. Well, those classes need teachers. There's all these people around you that you can be in small groups together. There's so many different ways to get plugged in and to have community here. I doubt anyone in here, even Kyle Embry, who probably knows most of the people in here. Do you know every single person in this room yet? Don't know everybody. So this is a great opportunity for you to meet people in the church. Don't just come in for an hour and leave, but take the time to meet people, to create community, and to get to know each other better. Life's more fun together. We're better together than being alone, right? So, belong to this local net. You know, if you're watching online's a great thing to have, But coming into this building and being together is no comparison. It's so much better to be in here together. So my last point, number 3, in the world. So it said it's in the family, it's in your church, now we're here in the world. These are kind of some of the fun stories too. But I don't even know where should I begin. Some of these are fun. But one thing I love to do, just talking to random strangers. When me and my friends go out, I'm usually the one starting the conversation with the waiter or the waitress and hearing their stories and all that. But one of the things I like to do is you ask people, don't just ask someone where they're from, but say, hey, where are you from originally? Usually starts up different conversations, a little bit more fun. And so I was in Destin, Florida, just a few weeks ago. Me and some of my best friends, we all went out there. We stayed out there for a week, right on the beach. And that was our summer trip. And I went in late because of church services, so I flew out Sunday afternoon. They were already all there. So I land at the airport, I'm alone, and I go get an Uber, right? And it's a lady driving the car. And so we're sitting there, small talking, and I'm like, hey, so, where are you from originally? And I find out she's from Kenya. She had moved to the States probably 15 years ago, I think she had said. And she was living in Maryland. And this whole time, she had just, last year, she moved to Florida because of all the lockdowns up in the Northeast. It was affecting her mental health. She had to get out of there. So she fled to Florida. And she used her car to Uber. And so we're, chit-chatting a little more, and I'm telling her, yeah. She's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I work at a church. I'm a pastor at a church in North Dallas. And she goes, I have one friend in Texas. She's been wanting me to move there. She lives in a small town called Carrollton. And I go, I'm from Carrollton. And I told her about the church and what we're all about here with how diverse it is and all the different congregations, and gave her my card, and who knows, maybe she'll show up here on a random Sunday. Like, oh, there's my Uber driver. So you never know where just any conversation could take you. It's just talking to people. That's what the whole root of this message is to talk to people, to share your faith. It doesn't have to be awkward. It can be fun. It can be goofy. Kyle Embry is one of the goofiest people I know. I cringe when I'm with him sometimes. He just starts going at the people. It's pretty fun though. And a good cringe, not a bad cringe. Like a laugh cringe. Anyway, eating alone at restaurants. This is another fun story. So sometimes, and I know this is a big faith exercise for you to do stuff like this, but I was alone Saturday one day. Something was going on up here. It was like 3 p.m. I'm like, I'm hungry. I haven't had lunch yet. So I go over to Modern Market, and I'm the only person in there ordering food except for one other person. And so I'm the guy who literally goes, eating alone? Pop down, hey, I'm Bryce. And this guy's name's Brendan, and he and I hit it off. We talked for like 45 minutes, just chit-chatting about life and all that. And once again, just basic invitation to church, nothing creepy, nothing weird, just, hey, I work at this church right down the street. Love to have you sometime. Well, I tell you, that was Saturday, like I said. He came Sunday, and then he came to young adults on Monday, and then he came to the service on Wednesday, and then he got into Alpha the next Sunday, and he's been here every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. He's sitting right there, and all it took was an invitation. There's people just sitting right there, just ready to jump in these nets. I'll give you one more, and then we'll wrap. We got to do some other stuff tonight. But just part of this is just making yourself available. I tell my interns sometimes, the old saying, it's like, what is it, to be early is to be on time, to be on time is to be late. You gotta make space. Make space for the Holy Spirit to talk to you. If we're always in a hurry, just dragging from event to event, thing to thing, and there's no buffer time in there, it takes out the opportunity to talk to someone. My case in point, a couple months ago now, it was the beginning of COVID when the Chick-fil-A lobbies were shut. And that was the hardest time of my life because Chick-fil-A is my love language. I'm there every Wednesday. They literally go, hey, Bryce, same thing. And they know my order. But so for that time, I was, you're having to use the drive-through, the pickup lanes and all that. So it's a Wednesday night. It's like 5 o'clock. I got to rush back here, right? Because it's Wednesday night. We got band rehearsal going on and then service. So I'm like down to the wire. Like I got to go pick up this food for me and my coworkers and bring it back. Well, I park in the pickup line. So I wasn't using the drive-through. I park, put the car in P, and I'm sitting there. And out walks a student who knew me from Prince of Peace because of my involvement I still have there. And he goes, Mr. Washum. I was like, I thought that was you. He said, I saw Bryce W. on the tag, so I grabbed it. So he brought the food out to me. And I took the food, and literally, I'm like, I gotta go. I'm thinking that. And I'm about to put this car in reverse and dip out of there. And then he says something. He goes, I'm leaving for college in a few weeks. And I'm just kind of worried about my faith. Just going to a big secular school, like what's gonna happen? So I'm like, put the car back in park. Oh yeah, we should talk. And we chit-chatted for just a few minutes about it. And he and I just exchanged contact information. And then that Friday, we met up at Chili's and just talked for a couple hours about going to college and what that's like and, how to keep your faith when you, move out from mom and dad and you're on your own. And the simple thing with that was, once again, I invited him to church. He actually didn't want to come. He's like, I don't want to come to the church because, I'm leaving next weekend. And what if I enjoy it? What if I like it? And then I'm sad that I have to go. I said, well, that's silly. Just come. And so he came. And then, he enjoyed it, of course. We enjoy it here, right? We're all here tonight on Wednesday night. This is the hardcore group coming on Wednesdays. And he had a great time. And I connected him. The Assemblies of God has a ministry called Chi Alpha. So I connected him with the Chi Alpha pastor that happened to be at that school. And didn't really even talk to him for a while. A couple months goes by, I shoot him a text, and I find out he talked to that Chi Alpha pastor. He got plugged into Chi Alpha. He's been attending that faithfully. His relationship with Christ is stronger than ever. That's what he told me. He said, I grew up in the church. I went to Prince of Peace Christian School, and I thought I knew the Lord, but it all has become so real now. And that was just through connecting him to another pastor at the campus ministry. But the cooler thing than that I found out was after he came here, he told his parents about it. He told his parents about the church. And the mom, dad, and son have been coming every week since then, and they're here. And their kid is involved on media team. He's a volunteer. So it's just cool to see those few easy points, just talking to people, just converse. We're all so insulated. We're always just looking at our phone. We're not paying attention to the world around us. It's a lot more fun to interact, to engage with people, to joke with people, and just have a good time. Because everyone around you, like that story at the beginning, everyone around you, there's stuff going on. People are hurting. People are looking for someone to talk to. They're looking for a church to belong to. And the last example I just thought of, and then we'll keep moving here. But even my friends are here tonight, Ryan Tierney and Jeff back there. Back in high school, I hounded them for a while to come to church. I used to bring a lot of Prince of Peace students to church back when I was in high school, and we'd fill up a row every Sunday in one of the services. And those two guys were particularly hard because their lifestyle was Sundays is for the golf course. And so, but you know what? They finally came, and when they came, they loved it. They got plugged in. They were serving. Ryan now was, for over a year, he served as one of our youth pastors during all of our transitions that were going on. He stepped in and helped run a junior high department. And so it's just incredible to see just the fruit that starts to form through all of this. I'll ask the band really quick to come back. We'll kind of wrap this up here. Trying to stay cognizant of the time here. But Pastor Kendall shared something years ago. It was a long time ago because we were still showing videos freely in church, not having to worry about the live stream cutting off on us if we did it. So, Travis, you're shaking your head over there. So we don't show videos anymore. They're, copyright, all that stuff. But anyway, he showed this really good interview and I have a picture of them. It's Penn and Teller. They're the magicians. Maybe you guys know who they are. They have a show called Fool Us on CW, I think. And I've always loved magic. I never like knowing how it's done because I know it's all trick, so I turn off the video once they start showing you how to do it. I don't want to know. I just want to think it was cool. So we went to one of these shows, my family. We were in Vegas a couple years ago, back before that big thing happened in the world and then you couldn't travel anywhere. But we went to Vegas and we bought tickets to this show. And the thing that you don't really know buying the tickets to this is Penn Jillette is his name, the guy, the single one in the picture. And he's a pretty staunch, hardcore atheist. And he will preach it in the magic shows. It's very sad, actually. But Kendall showed this video a couple years ago, and I'm gonna read you the quote, because I can still read you the quote. I can't show you the video. But I found this to be very impacting. I've thought about this a lot. Penn says, "I've always said that I don't respect people who don't proselytize." Proselytizing is like, bringing people into your church, your faith standard. He said, "I don't respect that at all. If you believe that there's a heaven and a hell, and people could be going to hell or not getting eternal life, and you think that it's not really worth telling them this because you might make it socially awkward, and atheists who think people shouldn't proselytize and who say to just leave me alone and keep the religion to yourself, how much do you have to hate somebody to not proselytize? How much do you have to hate somebody to believe everlasting life is possible and not tell them that?" He said, if I believed beyond the shadow of a doubt that a truck was coming at you and you didn't believe that the truck was bearing down on you, there's a certain point that I will tackle you. And this is way much more important than that. So for him to say that, and like I said, the show, he's very just anti-religion in general, not just anti-Christ, but anti any thought of religion. For him to say that, I just found that so impacting. I think about myself, just every person that we meet, every person that we work with. Think about what I just said. In your family, in your church, right here, in the world, all these people around us. If we truly believe this message, then we should be doing everything we can to tell everybody we know. There's no it might be awkward. Move on then after that, change the topic. But have the conversations. Freedom Church, we do believe in a literal hell. We teach that. That is our theology position. We don't think it is a figure of speech. We don't think it's a metaphor for something. I want to read to you the ending of the parable that we started out with. The parable was called the parable of the net, right? Matthew 13, the end of it, verses 49 and 50. It says, "So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come out, separate the evil from the righteous, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So look, I'm not one to turn this into a hellfire and brimstone message, but I'm saying to you, there is a lot at stake here. It's literally people's lives are on the line of their eternal destination. So have the conversations with people. Think of everyone around you, just day to day that you're interacting with. You go to the bank, you go to the dry cleaner, you go to work, all the people that you work with and sit at a cube farm with, or now you're on Zoom and you got to Zoom with them, whatever. These are great opportunities to meet people. Danielle, can you go to that one slide with that last statement? I didn't write it down in my notes, but not preaching a literal hell negates the necessity of the cross. If we don't teach this part of the salvation message, then why did Jesus even have to die on that cross? It doesn't make sense. So I know it's a hard thing to think about sometimes, but this is the reality that we're living in. And there's a lot of people that aren't on the road that leads to Christ right now. So here's how I kind of wanted to end tonight. Just a thought, as a altar response, so to speak, not just going back into song and being done with it, but you probably picked up a card. Hopefully you picked up a blank index card when you walked in. If you didn't, the ushers will bring those right down here right now. And all I really wanted to do with this is my question for you is simply put, who is your one? I'm not asking you for 20 people that you can think of right now. Who's one person that on your drive to work tomorrow you may interact with, the barista, or at the office, or the phone call that you're gonna make? Who's one person? And all I'm requesting you to do tonight is take that card, write one name on it, and then when the band starts to play, I just want you to come set it up here at the altar. And we'll end tonight just praying over the names. And you're probably thinking, well, Bryce, how do I ask these people? How do I talk to them? Like, yeah, it's awkward. Okay. Well, we got 2 events coming up, and I'm going to share these with you right now. The first one is Gabriel Nahara is speaking. He's a motivational speaker. He's going to be here on November 28th in all the services. If you can see here by his picture, he has ailments that he's learned to live with. He still does life. He has no arms, and he uses his feet as his hands, and it's a powerful story. He'll be right up here preaching on November 28th. And then the week before that, sorry I did these backwards, but November 21st, we're having a night of worship up here. That'll be at 7 p.m., and then they'll be doing special music in all 3 morning services. So it's another great thing to come up to. Invite people. Everyone likes music. Hey, come check out this band. You'll see what they're singing about, but check out this band. It'll be a great time. So that's my encouragement to you. Like I said, the band's going to just start playing now. But if you can, just in the next minute or two, who's that one name? Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal to you. Who's one person that I can speak to? Who's one person that I can invite to church? Because we want everyone that we know to get caught up in this net. Thank you.